Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And greetings, getting ready for the weekend.
Yes, we are. I will say tornado warnings yesterday, but it was lovely in the morning. That's the thing about the South. It can be beautiful and then all of a sudden.
Don't like Savannah's weather? Stick around a few minutes, it'll change.
Yes, it was very foggy this morning as well.
Yeah, fog was back. Yesterday we didn't have any. Today we got plenty more. You can hardly see your hand in front of your face in some of these places. But we're glad you're here, and we're glad that we're still looking for a speaker for the House Speaker.
Well, I know yesterday you and I disagreed on this, so I'm excited for us to chat about some of the things that are going on, and I do think that we are seeing people's true colors come out, and that would be Kevin McCarthy's.
Well, it's the old saying that Abraham Lincoln once said: if you want to give somebody see somebody's true character, give them power. And I was worried about the optics of this more than anything else. And I thought that, okay, we'll get Kevin McCarthy and then let's just get this underway and get these committees set up and start doing some investigations and start putting some Democrats in jail. But it turns out that I don't like his attitude. I don't like the threats that were being made, and said, okay, maybe he's not the guy. And after, Dan Bongino was talking about this yesterday, and Laura Ingraham was mentioning it last night. Sean Hannity even talked a little bit about it and said, listen, this clown show that we're having, it is democracy in action. And when I started thinking about it a little deeper, that's how we got the United States of America in the first place. These guys practically came. In fact, I think they did come to blows
Yes.
on several occasions. Chip Roy may be my new favorite congressman now. So we're not, and we've always said that if you keep doing the same thing over and over, what's the definition of insanity? You're doing the same thing over and over, and you get a different result, expecting a different result. And he said, and Chip Roy has said, look, we're not going to go along to get along anymore. We're going to have to, if you like the way this Congress, if you like what's happening in Washington now, then you're sick.
Well, and also he actually is trying to represent the people that elected him.
Yeah,
and
so that's what I was sent here for, and he's looking after his constituents, and I go along with that. And these threats from Kevin, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. So I think that we are on the right track.
Well, and I think it only takes a few to change something, right? And I think that, if history's taught us anything, is that it only takes a few good men to stand up and do the right thing for other people to be willing to do the right thing as well.
And it's I don't know why Kevin is not just totally embarrassed about all this. If he wanted to show his true character, he would have said, okay, obviously I'm not the guy, at least at this point. I'll step aside and let's get this thing done for the American people, as we always used to hear Bill Clinton say.
Yeah, and I also think it's interesting that you are now seeing him, threaten all of these things. But one of the things that he sent in a text message, which I'm very appalled at, is I'm ready to fund another endless war. I'm sorry.
No.
I just don't. Republicans don't want him to be the speaker. If you talk to anyone on the street, no one likes him. And we have all of these representatives voting for him because they've made deals. And I think that, unfortunate, and all that Chip Roy said was either give us the tools to make this successful or give us the speaker to make it successful. Mm-hmm. He didn't even ask for both. He said, one or the other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And whatever Kevin McCarthy is not willing to cave on, it's very important for him. So it makes you wonder what deals have been cut with Democrats. I heard that he was talking to Democrats yesterday about getting him 5 votes so that he could become Speaker of the House. And I think that, the fact that that's his alternative is that, fine, I'll just go to the Democrats. I'm not willing to work with the party that elected me. I think that is, it speaks volumes to what we're going to see from Kevin McCarthy as the speaker. And I think 2 of those things that the Democrats are going to ask for is not giving Republicans subpoena power, which is a really big deal. And the other thing is the debt ceiling, which that's the thing that I don't like about Kevin McCarthy. One of the things he will not agree to is the 10-year plan to get us back to a balanced budget. The plan is out there. It's someone has already done the work. He just will not adopt it.
And if you have you heard about the penny proposal? I mean, the penny budget, the penny proposal. If we cut the budget by 1 penny of every dollar, within 10 years, we'd have the balanced budget. And like I guess it was Chip Roy said when he came into Congress, we were $11 trillion in debt, and now we're 36, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever it is, but it's only money. He said, that this is just we're not going in the right direction, and it's a house of cards. Sooner or later, this thing comes tumbling down.
Well, and I think the other thing we really have to think about is, number one, they're spending more time picking the speaker than they did reading a $1.7 trillion bill that has a lot of things that are damaging to the American public. So,
like everything, just about.
Yeah.
Except some of the maybe the military spending, I would say, used as an excuse for voting for it in the first place. But there's a lot of stuff in the military budget that certainly could be. One of the things that I'd like to see General Milley busted so low he has to salute civilians. Why this guy's still chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is beyond my comprehension. He has been terrible.
Well, and they want to do all this diversity and training and paying for surgeries for people and things like that.
The Fauci ouchie.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. You could go line by line. You don't have to cut all of the military spending, but you go through and look at the programs that really don't make a difference, and you cut those. It's not hard. It's
one of the things that President Ronald Reagan had wanted years ago, called the line item veto, where he could look at the budget and say, okay, we don't need that, we don't need this. Whereas you keep the general budget overall, but you cut out the things like, money for more money for Ukraine,
or protecting other people's borders. I think that the thing that we need to also start to come to terms with is that yes, we need to be the superpower, but we do not need to be the police for everyone, because we can't afford it. We've been doing that for way too long. We can't afford to be involved in every single dispute in the world. That's just not something that we need to be doing, and they've sold the American people down the road. I mean, they're not even just spending our tax money that we didn't agree to give them. They are printing money that doesn't even exist, and that's a huge problem.
Yeah, it comes tumbling down sooner or later. All you have to do is read history that you don't teach anymore, but you find out about the Wehrmacht and what happened in Nazi Germany, where they were printing money so fast that they weren't even printing the other side of the bills. It was only printing one side of it. And if it just took you 10 marks or whatever to buy bread yesterday, you had to bring a wheelbarrow the next day full of this phony cash in order to buy a loaf. So that's how bad it can get, and that's exactly what we're going through now, and we need to put a halt on this immediately, if not sooner. And so good on the Republicans finally for some of the few that are standing up. In fact, I think it was one that Chip Roy that has said that he wants Byron Donalds to be the Speaker of the House, and I'm all for it. Can you imagine conservative black guy being Speaker of the House for the Republicans? And just that kicks the old we're the racist party right in the gazoo.
Well, Cori Bush, who is the she's from Missouri. She's been terrible. I'm sure people know who she is, but
she's awful.
Yeah, she's terrible. But she came out and basically criticized Byron Donalds, and he's not a good candidate for this job, blah blah blah, and Cori Bush is nothing. But
I've always liked this, they're not black enough, or they're
that's basically what it is.
Yeah, and when Lee Elder was running for and looked like he very well could become governor of California, and you heard the media say this is the black face of white supremacy. They turned themselves into pretzels trying to get over their racism.
Well, not only that, who gets to dictate if you're black enough?
Yeah.
Joe Biden. I mean, the thing is the people that claim that we're such racists, they're the most racist people out there. Someone that says, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Yeah.
You're some old white dude. Who are you? I think that we've
also says if you can't go into a convenience store in America unless you have an Indian accent. Yeah,
He's terrible.
The media
He's
just
terrible.
keeps standing up for this guy, and that's the worry more than anything else of where we're going to get our country back is the fact that the media is simply the right arm of the Democrat Party.
Well, that's the thing. People are like, we're being made into fools with the media, and I'm like, the media does it anyways. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
care. Like, let's do this.
Yeah,
If it takes 2 months, I'm fine with that. Because guess what, Bill? These people aren't getting paid either, which I love.
if you think that as a conservative Republican, if you think that you're trying to be nice to the media, all I can tell you is think of John McCain. He was the darling of the media as long as he was criticizing his fellow Republicans. As soon as he started running for president, they hated the guy.
Exactly. I mean, you can't win, and
No,
I
you
think
can't.
that that's the thing too. We think that if we're just nice enough, that the Democrats will work with us. If we're just nice enough, we'll get our way. It hasn't worked. We've been doing this for how many years? It does not work. And guess what? The Democrats are not nice to us, and guess what? They seem to get their way a lot, Bill.
They sure do.
So-
and one of them is just by sticking together and coming up with these just ridiculous precepts that we finally wind up and they try to make it into mainstream, and it's anything but. But unfortunately, they keep getting their way, and they're supported by a media that ought to be ashamed of itself. This is not what the media is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a lapdog. We're supposed to be a watchdog.
Yep. And one of the things that I saw online that I really liked, because people are like, it's so embarrassing that we're going through this whole speaker fight. I'm like, what's embarrassing is spiking inflation to a 40-year high. That is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Opening the border, fleeing Afghanistan, forcing non-working vaccines on people. That's embarrassing. I said, I don't understand why people can continue to. Republicans are more upset that the speaker's not chosen than they are about the $1.7 trillion bill that was passed last week. It blows my mind. So I really hope that people will look at this as
Democracy in action.
exactly.
This is exactly what it's supposed to be. That we hammered this out. In fact, the Constitution and all of the United States has been called the Great Compromise. You don't get everything you want. That's it. Bottom line. I was jumping the gun on the fact that the optics of this thing rather than what actually is going on behind the scenes. So my profuse apologies. This process is actually, I think, is going to be a very healthy one. You have to get sooner or later. You have to get down and dirty. And once again, as Chip Roy says, if you're trying to drain the swamp, you don't bring in another alligator.
See, he's got a lot of good one-liners,
He does.
Bill. I like him. I think that, I think the other reason that this is maybe so shocking is that we haven't had people that are willing to stand up and do the right thing and to challenge the status quo. And I think that that's exactly what we need right now. We need a change in leadership. We need a change in direction. And McCarthy's not that.
Yeah. And they have no sense of humor at all. So
They definitely don't.
they proved it with one of the congresswomen yesterday. So we'll talk about that more coming up here on Get Real America next.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in our communities.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Getting ready for the big weekend. It is the first weekend of the new year, so to speak.
Yes, so hopefully...
First full weekend.
Yeah, hopefully you're still on those New Year's resolutions. I know that sometimes
know,
we make them and they go right out the window.
You know, it's been a phenomenon here. All of a sudden, Savannah's become a sports town with the Savannah Bananas. And now we're going bonkers over our new hockey team, the Ghost Pirates.
Have you been to a game, Bill?
I'm going tonight, so
That's
it'll be my
exciting.
inaugural. The new arena is nice. It's just in the wrong place and too small. But nevertheless, got to go out and check it out. They finally have built some parking, which is something they didn't have before. It was like, oh, we need parking for this place?
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Well,
Weird.
and we can't do it here because this was once a landfill for industrial products. It's been that way for 100 years. We didn't know that. It's
You guys are just figuring out, so you guys
Yes, sir.
didn't have a plan.
Do some research, yes,
Yes.
sir. But it's the way Savannah wants to do things. So going to the Ghost Pirates tonight. We were talking earlier about that the left has no sense of humor whatsoever.
No.
And when who was I don't remember who the congresswoman was who mentioned that the Democrats are enjoying this little show here, bringing in their popcorn, and she mentioned alcohol, and they went bananas, just unbelievable. So no sense of humor whatsoever. Neither does Sean Penn Laden, I understand.
No, he definitely, I know that this is a topic that we tend to avoid because of censorship. But, I think it's interesting how these celebrities keep coming out, and they're not happy people. Like, celebrities, they're miserable human beings. Sean Penn, he thinks that if you did not get the Fauci ouchie, you should be in jail.
Just because you're famous doesn't mean that you're smart. It's like when speaking of Congress, all of a sudden these people get elected to this federal office and they become experts on everything, the environment, medicine, whatever it is, you name it, and suddenly they're the world's experts. And I love it sometimes where they talked about the farm program one time and how they were farmers were complaining and about all the stupid things that Washington was doing. And who did they call up to talk to them about the farm program?
I don't know, some brilliant celebrity, I'm sure.
It was Sissy Spacek, who had done a movie about it. It was almost like the time when we had there was a undertaker here in Georgia who had been doing false cremations. He was storing the bodies in this warehouse somewhere, and he was giving people, when they came for a cremation, he was giving them, it was actually sawdust or concrete dust. It wasn't the real thing. There was a big investigation. I mean, this is about 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
But CNN wanted to get somebody on from CSI in Las Vegas, and it's like, no, why don't you get somebody that's a real forensic person and not somebody who plays one on television? So this is how Congress works sometimes. So Sissy Spacek is going up there because she made a movie about the plight of farmers. She's the expert, not the farmers themselves.
Well, also you have, I mean, look what they've done to Greta Thunberg.
Oh, yeah.
She was like what,
world's-
10 years old,
Yeah,
9 years old when she
yeah.
started being a climate expert. I mean,
Yes, sirree.
she's bought and paid for.
How did she get here to talk at the United Nations? Did she come on a sailing ship or something?
No, I believe she flew private, if I remember correctly. Shame on you, Greta. But her cause is much more important than the rest of us. So
That's right, and I'm sure she had his carbon offsets.
Yeah.
So she shouldn't be taken care of. Well, how dare you?
well, did you know this? This I find quite interesting. Greta Thunberg and Kyle Rittenhouse have the same birthday. Thought that was something special.
Yeah, and Woody Harrelson and I have the same one too. Thank you very much, that left-wing loon. But speaking of left-wing loons, getting back to Sean Penn Laden, he wants you either get vaccinated or you go to prison.
Yep.
This is exactly what he said.
It's a cowardice of conviction. I think that it is an unwillingness to engage in a culture of common sense that at this point it seems criminal to me. Actually, I really feel that that if someone chooses not to be vaccinated, that they should choose to stay home, not go to work, not have a job. These are, as long as we're all paying for these streets, we got to ride safely on them. And so I'm just hopeful that the mindset will change. And it started, we know that this really started with leadership voids. And now I think that there are some examples of leadership that are being helpful with it. But we really got to get everyone else, everybody on the same page. And I think the CDC should be much more clear.
Okay, Sean, if you like communism, there are places we have that. It's called China, Russia, North Korea. They'd be glad to have you.
Yeah. Well,
And
and
you
Sean
could
Penn
run
looks
things
terrible.
over there. And yeah, I mean, he's looked drugged out ever since for 40 years since the school days or whatever it was that movie that he was in, and he had just what a pathetic figure.
Yep. He and I think we really should be. When did it become? We listen to celebrities over anyone else. Like, why are they the arbiters of truth?
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's a huge problem. And we just had her name's MIA, or she's like a R&B singer, and she recently has become very religious.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she's gotten more backlash for talking about Jesus than anything she's ever done. She's like, in this industry, they want you to be a bad girl. They don't want you to be good.
Exactly.
She's like, I'm not going to play into their game anymore. It's just not something I'm willing to do. She's like, if it costs me my career, then so be it. But she said she's been more criticized for that than anything, which I think is speaks volumes to where we're at as a culture.
Yeah, and we've said on numerous occasions, how did we get here in the first place? How did we get to be the greatest country in the world in less than 150 years? The strongest, the most prosperous, and the most progressive, and I mean that in the way of looking forward, not a political sense. It was because we relied on God. And the Founding Fathers said, this system will work as long as we continue to elect leaders who are God-fearing men, they said at the time, now God-fearing men and women. And that's how, and we're not going to get back to the top until we get on our knees and start going back to church. But church attendance has been just pathetic over the last 40, 50 years. It's dropped precipitously. Churches on numerous occasions have had to close. And so mega churches have sprung up in many cases. But until we get back to the Founding Fathers' philosophies, until we get back to God's blessings, if you don't do anything but read the Old Testament, something that apparently Raphael Warnock hasn't done, even though he's a minister. God, when Israel started falling away from God and started worshiping men instead of him, things didn't go well for them. When they went back to him, things started going well for them. It happened time after time. It wasn't just a one of those, law of averages says that sooner or later things are going to get better for them. No, no, no. It happened every time. They fell away from God and they paid the price. And that's exactly what we're doing now. And the fact that we are not honoring our Maker when we have people that want to take in God we trust off of our money, when they don't want to, when we can't say that, when we can't talk about God in schools. I think that's one of the most refreshing things, Brittany, that has happened when this situation in the NFL when was the last time that you saw the people on a public television start praying? And they did it on ESPN the other night, something that a network that I haven't liked in a long time. And and you saw all these players out there kneeling for something besides protesting the flag. And they found out what the real importance was, and people going up and offering prayers and going to the hospital to pray for this young man. And I think that's a refreshing change, and maybe that's one of the things that we need to get us back on the right track in this country, because we ain't there now.
Yeah, and I think the churches are missing a huge opportunity right
They
now
are.
because people need it. I mean, they might not realize it, but they do need it. I mean, there's an opportunity for them to also offer the ability to provide a building for people to homeschool their kids, to pull them out of schools and have more of a church-based learning and things like that. And they're not doing it. I talked to a friend last night who is part of the Mormon religion, and he's very frustrated with their church. And he's like, they're not doing the right thing, and they're not focused on their people. They're focused on not losing their status with government. And that's the last thing they should be worried about at this point.
They seem to be looking at the calendar. Oh, this is 2022. This is 2023. The Bible was written all these years ago and stuff like that. Well, God doesn't have a calendar. The time means nothing. He invented time so everything wouldn't happen at once. So he does not. Time is immaterial. What he said yesterday, today, and tomorrow stands. It doesn't matter what our calendar says, which is just an arbitrary thing to begin with. If you had to start if you went to another planet and you decided you want to set up your own world, you'd have to pick out what time it was. You'd have to pick out what day it was. Where's your calendar? Where are you going to start it? So this is all just arbitrary by people over the years. And the observations that they have made on how the seasonal things work. So this is something that has been established by man as opposed to God, who is immortal and eternal. So that is what we need to get back to. And the churches who keep saying, well, we're not going to get involved because we're going to bite, and they bite their lips on things. Well, as Dr. Laurie used to say, the only thing that gets you is bloody lips.
Yep, I mean,
Get involved.
The churches they don't want to get political, but everything's political. And if you don't, religious freedom is it's getting there, Bill, really quick.
I know, and it is. One of my pastors from some years back said that he was worried that he might get arrested for what he was saying in the pulpit, and he said, "I'm ready to go. Take me away. If you're going to arrest me for what I'm preaching from the Bible, then I'm willing to do that." So that is something that is absolutely essential for us to get back to the man, to the Creator, and not start and continue to worship people and things.
That's what social media has really brought to the forefront, I think, is making people really obsessed with themselves and the likes. And so, yeah, we do need to get back to God. So we are going to take a break, but we will be right back. And
Thank God.
Yeah,
We're going to take a break.
Yes. And we will maybe decode some Biden when we get back.
Oh, there's a full-time job, being his interpreter.
At Get Real America, we want to promote your business to our conservative audience.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity. from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that that word does get out to the community.
Be a sponsor and support your local community here at Get Real America.
Gracias. Thank you. What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care can keep families together. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard. And
Yes. You know, that little cat is so cute,
Yeah,
and I just wanted
she's
to bring
precious.
up that our shelters here are very overwhelmed,
yes,
especially after the holidays. People, surrendering animals that they got as gifts. If you can adopt a pet, please do, and please don't give a gift of an animal to anyone. I think that that's something we should not be doing.
well, not unless they're expecting it of some
Yeah.
sort. They
Or they pick it out, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think they have to bond with the animal and things like
Exactly right. But what would you do, by the way, if you saw somebody in your neighborhood putting an animal out on the side of the road? Now, this is something that a story that was out of WTOC, the CBS affiliate here in Savannah, said what turned out to be 20 animals. What if it was that? But that's exactly what a Chatham County guy saw when he witnessed this past Monday. They said the people that live in the area of Girard Avenue said they're used to people coming in their cul-de-sac and dumping things on the side of the road. But on Monday, suddenly it was a dark turn when somebody came down and dumped over 20 dogs in the neighborhood.
That's awful.
And you've heard stories. I know that I've seen people that what was it? A guy who saw that he saw some guy out in the woods somewhere put this bag into a dumpster, and he noticed that the bag was moving, and he opened it up and saw these little puppies inside that this guy had thrown away. But said that there were dogs everywhere, puppies, and said, and the small dogs too. They were running around everywhere. This is Timothy Brannon, who is quoted in the story, who says that he and his sister tried to catch the dogs, but he said there were just too many of them for him to handle. And he said, but they were scared to death. They were running from us, but they kept on running back, kept barking. Chatham County Police say they were called out, and an officer did go there. No police report has been filed, but he said someone eventually contacted Renegade Paws Rescue, who took in the 21 dogs.
Yes, and I believe that they have over 300 animals right now. So that's a lot of animals to feed. And I know that also due to the expense of having an animal right now, people aren't able to afford to keep their animals. So that's another reason people are surrendering them at such a high rate right now.
I'm sorry, if you get an animal, this is your response. It's like having a child, okay? You can't just get rid of the kid unless your friends at Planned Parenthood or something. But you just can't get rid of the kid. You find a way to feed them. You find a way to clothe and house them. The same thing with your pets. I'm sorry. You adopted this. I don't see how anybody could do that. I don't know how heartless you have to be to adopt. And this is a life, okay? And it's not a goldfish. It is, which is a life also, but still, when we're talking about a pet, how you could bond with this pet over the pandemic, because people were closed up in their houses. Thank you, government. And so they decided to adopt a pet, and then when the pandemic was over, take them back. This just escapes me. But find a way, have a yard sale, bake sale or something. You can afford the pet. The food is not that expensive, okay? You can find a way to do it. Get the side hustle, drive for Uber, whatever it is that you have to do to get food for your animal. They're not this is a member of your family. My wife and I have now 5 cats, and wouldn't think of getting rid of any of them. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well, and they all have like their own little personalities and things like that. I just don't understand how people can do that. But I do think that this comes down back to kind of what we were talking about before the break, the selfishness that has succumbed to our society, and just, it doesn't work for my lifestyle, I'm just going to get rid of it. It's just so easy to do that, to discard things, whether that is, humans and as well as animals. I think we need to have people that are more concerned about other people and other living things rather than themselves, and I hope that we get there.
Yeah, we always have this, save the whales and all this of these people that are involved in some of these movements, but of course they, or save the birds and the bats and things of that nature. But windmills that are killing all these things and are not that efficient anyway, they're silent as the Sphinx. So we know that you're a bunch of phonies.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of phonies, our president.
Oh.
he had a lot to say yesterday.
He sure did. And we'd like you to get in touch with us at granewsmedia.com and tell us what he did say. Here it is. All right, we're gonna see this. He's off at a bridge somewhere. Where was this? Philadelphia, someplace.
Yeah.
Before he goes to the border. He's going to the border,
We'll see.
I don't know if he's going to our border, but he might be going to the one in Jordan where we're getting him money for that.
Yeah.
So, and I hope they will. I hope they'll keep him, but that's just a pipe dream.
Yeah.
I've traveled over 140 countries around the world. And so I'll paraphrase the phrase in my own neighborhood. The rest of the countries, the world's not a patch on our genes. If we do what we want to do, we need to do.
And also, Ozzy Osbourne, he's been selected to interpret what Biden just said there.
I think his interpreter jumped off that bridge or whatever. Finally said, "Yeah, how many times have you heard that old expression? We're not just a patch on your genes."
I've never heard
grew
that
up
expression.
with that. I'd never heard of it either. It escapes me.
Very interesting things coming from Biden. I did hear, and I don't know if it's true, but I did hear that he does not trust the CIA, and they're not allowed in the residential quarters of the White House. That's what I heard.
He's mad at the Secret Service.
For what?
He's called out the Secret Service. He doesn't think that they're. He thinks that they're all MAGA people.
Oh, geez.
And that they're not gonna protect him. And I don't blame him. I wouldn't take a bullet for this. That's one of the reasons that Dan Bongino left the Secret Service when he was there, because he said he was there when the Dalai Lama was president. He said, "I'm not taking a bullet for this guy. I'm out of here." And he had, so he gave up retirement, a lot of other stuff that he gave up because he said he wasn't going to take a bullet for this whack job, the communist. And so there are a lot of, and here's the, criticizing the people that are supposed to take a bullet for you is probably not the best idea you had in the world. He thinks that he questioned one of the Secret Service guys who said that his dog, the president's dog, bit him, and he was questioning whether that was true or not. And as Jimmy Fallon from Fox Across America said, he said that Biden had realized didn't realize that maybe he's got competition from people sniffing at the White House now, that he thought he was the only one. But here he is worried about this and saying that this was just a false report. When you criticize the people that's supposed to be taking a bullet for you, which is what the Hildebeest was good at doing as well. So she was. They said that working with that witch was the most amazing. Was one of the.
I heard she was terrible.
Oh,
I heard she
awful.
was an awful human.
Well, I knew that when she started. When she was unfortunately when she was the first lady, unfortunately we elected Bill Clinton as president, and she had the Marines who were the Marine guards at the White House. She had them get in their dress blues and had them serving hors d'oeuvres at White House functions. So
wow.
you had Marines out there serving hors d'oeuvres. That's something supposed to be done by, of course, the servants that are hired at the White House, and not the people who are out there taking a bullet for you.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if Biden just doesn't remember what actually happens.
I'm sure he doesn't.
And I wonder
I
if
don't know what day it is.
I was going to say, I do think that he has some sort of Alzheimer's or dementia of some sort. He's not all there, but it makes you wonder because he's getting angrier. He's getting and those are some signs of that. And it's quite interesting that all of a sudden he's going to the border. I will not hold my breath to see if it actually happens, but
one of my favorite talk show hosts, Chris Plant, says about the president, says he's a brain or she's a broke.
Yes. Yes.
No good anymore.
Yes.
So
well,
and if you don't think that our enemies are taking note of this, you got another thing coming.
Well, I bet you he goes to the Arizona border because I did just hear that Katie Hobbs has started to disassemble.
Take away the
wall.
Yeah, the wall, yeah, I'm sure.
So I think she's been in a total of 2 days, and I was talking to my friend that lives in Arizona, and he's like, she's just one of those people that's always been a Karen, just one of those people that probably calls the cops on everyone and just neighborhood watch, just one of those people that wants to be in everyone's business. He definitely doesn't believe that she won there, and I think Arizona is going to suffer greatly because of this.
Well, the first thing that people like that do, just like Biden did, is they're doing everything that's against America and against the protection of these people, against the protection of our citizens. The first thing that Biden did was cut off the XL pipeline, and that was one of the biggest mistakes ever made. And then said, okay, and then the border is open. And if it was under control, why were these people coming in, and where did they get all these T-shirts saying "Thank you, Biden" on it? There were all these T-shirts that we saw these people initially coming in the border 2 years ago that were coming in. They said, "Well, why are you coming?" Well, the president said we could, and then to have the vice president. The second dumbest woman in the world behind Karine Jean-Pierre going down to Guatemala or wherever it was, and she said, "Oh, don't come, please. We're going to get to the root causes of this. I wish they get to the root causes of their stupidity."
Yeah,
and anti-Americanism. You're supposed to be protecting us.
Well, and the fact that now they're really focused on processing as many people as they can to get into this country, and there isn't enough of a focus on it, Bill, if I'm being honest. I think people get sick and tired of the story, and so do I. I get sick about hearing about the problem, right? There's no solutions. They have no goals here. And I don't think the House is going to do anything to fix this issue based on they have a slim majority and the Senate is
and now
we
they're
let
taking,
that go.
Yeah, and now we're hearing that they're taking air marshals.
Yep.
And putting them on the border now to help out with security. Why don't they put those 87,000 IRS agents that they're planning on hiring, put them down at the border? Let them look for some whether or not these people are paying their taxes or not.
I mean, we'll see. They're not making these people get vaccinated either, which I think is a huge issue because they're making everyone flying into the country, you have to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
So a lot of problems.
If you come across the border, though.
Yep.
Yes, sirree. All right, we're going to wrap it up for this week by telling you about a young man who's doing very, very well. We got a positive story to end on.
Yes.
And his name is Tyler Beauchamp, and he's got a book out that is just going crazy. He's also a medical student here, and you're going to like him. That's coming up next.
We'll be back.
So Tyler is one of these guys who, he found out besides studying in medical school, I don't know where he found time for this, but he said during the pandemic, when he was closed up. He decided he was going to write a book, and he wrote one called Freeze Frame, and it's been doing very, very well. He's gone on book signings. He's gone on some of the other television stations. But he start with us first, and you're going to see we aired a little of this a couple of weeks ago, and you're going to see the rest of Tyler's interview. You're going to be impressed with this kid next. And so the book is about what?
So the book is about this high school boy who experiences a trauma, and he then transitions to a new school to kind of escape the news of the trauma. He's trying to restart.
Right.
But the trauma has kind of left him with derealization disorder and some PTSD. And the way he experiences life now is whenever his emotions get too strong, he experiences a real life film of that emotion. So like if he gets really scared, suddenly he experiences a horror movie. Or if he like falls for a girl in high school, suddenly he experiences like a romantic comedy. And he himself is he wants to be a director. So it's a little bit based off of like my little films that I made growing up. But so that's why his trauma is experienced that way, is because he sees the world as films anyway. Mm-hmm. So the trauma kind of triggered this extreme version of his experiencing life that way.
Where did you get the concept? When did it come to you when you're writing this thing? How does it, authors always have a different, they either say, some say you got to plot it out, you got to know how it ends. Mm-hmm. Others say you got to start writing and it will, Stephen King referred to as fall into it.
Oh yeah. So I'm the opposite of King's style because, he hates outlining and he's like, I'm just going to write 10,000 words a day. I'm going to delete 8,000 of them. Mm-hmm. And, respect to him, I definitely couldn't do that.
Right.
I definitely am a big outliner.
Okay.
But I like to write things based on images. And so everything I've written has been based on like a picture in my head. And so for this one, I had this picture of a kid walking down an auditorium where everyone in the auditorium is frozen. Mm-hmm. And he's experiencing this very surreal moment where they're kind of watching a moment in his life. And so that is actually a scene in the book. And from there I was like, well, what are they seeing? What is the thing that's on screen that he is scared for them to see? And what is he thinking about moving forward of how they're going to judge him seeing something that's so personal to him? Mm-hmm. And so literally the frozen frame is kind of what inspired the name Freeze Frame, which also has the play on, it's a cinematography term. And
we're talking with Tyler Beauchamp, and his book is Freeze Frame, and I hope it's the first of many. But at the same, you self-published?
I did. I worked with a company, so I can't take all the credit with, I had many editors and formatters and illustrators and stuff, but I wanted to self-publish because I just wanted to retain the rights for my first book. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I was going to be starting residency soon. I have one more year of med school, and the publishing process with a company that can take a few years. And I knew I just wanted this out before I would go to residency and not, I have no idea where I'm going to be, how much time I'm going to have when I'm actually working as a doc. So I wanted this out as, on my time.
Well, I grew up reading a doctor who was also an author named Frank G. Slaughter, kind of an unusual name for a doctor, but he wrote some great bestsellers. And then Robin Cook's done well with those medical terror type things.
Yes, yeah.
Has done quite well. In fact, he was here for the Savannah Book Festival about 5 years ago. I missed a chance to meet him, doggone it. But at the same time, I read his books and absolutely sends chills up my spine.
Yeah.
Of some of the things that we can actually do. But this is the first, I hope, of many. I mean, this is your
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I've got a few on the table that I want to do after this, but
well, and how does it? How are you getting publicity about this besides? Your dad called up and I said, well, I've got to do this because not only because I love your dad, but also the fact that I want to promote good people good reading, good writing,
Yeah.
whatever. So how did what's the publicity about this, or how have you advertised it, shall we say?
So I've gotten pretty lucky so far. I started mostly with just social media and word of mouth. And the company I work for also does a promotion. They have a big reach in the ebook world. So it's also available as a, e-version. And they've got this big campaign that's getting ready to launch next week that hopefully will have some success. But what I did, it feels weird to go around calling and kind of cold calling to self-promote yourself. I did a lot of this when I was doing the music video, where at least for that, it was for a cause. It was for, the music video was to highlight frontline workers. And this is for a cause too, in the sense that I'm trying to highlight some key aspects of youth culture right now with mental illness and social media. But at the end of the day, it's still self-promotion. And so I just kind of learned to call and be ready for rejection. It's a very
welcome to the club.
Yeah. I think for every 10 calls I made, one person would hear me out. But the people that have heard me out, they've been really great about helping me and promoting, and so it's already starting to get some traction around the Southeast, which is really, really great.
Yeah. Well, the late great Jim Rohn, one of my favorite public speakers and motivational speakers of all time, said that his theory in sales when he first got started, he said if you worked with an experienced salesman, said this guy could, if they had a little competition, said this guy could make 10 calls and sell 9 of them.
Wow.
He said, I'd made 100 calls and sold 11. Said, I beat you. But I had to do a lot more work.
Yeah.
But the more calls you made, the easier it got. Pretty
Right.
soon you had more acceptance and rejections.
Yeah.
But I mean, the same thing we hear about, publishing or getting a book published as well. And we hear all the apocryphal stories of whether Gone with the Wind was turned down by 28 publishing companies, and then of course when they went back to find out who rejected it, there's no way to be there's no way to be found.
No.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing too with this is that my editor, my line formatter, and my publicist within this are actually all in 3 different time zones. And they're all 3 different than ours. So for about 2 months, I kind of didn't really sleep too much because I would do my medical studies in the morning, my time.
Yeah.
And then by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, one of their times, okay, we're starting the business day here. So I would call for them. And then by 2 a.m., the other one would start. And so there was a little bit of working some communication problems with time zones,
Yeah.
but you're also in that way you're getting more exposure to more areas outside the U.S.
Sure.
So you definitely have to put in the work and drink a lot of coffee.
Okay. So it's selling well?
It's selling well so far. I think we've sold, as of this morning, a few hundred copies. So
Okay.
we're getting there. And this is before the promotion campaigns that we have set up for the next few weeks. So this is just word of mouth has gotten us to where we are right now.
Okay. Well, Tyler, pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much and I hope this is the first of many. We'll have you back anytime you want. And
Thank
best
you.
of luck in your medical studies. So, and what field of medicine do you want to go into?
Pediatrics.
Pediatrics. Very good. All right. I think you're perfectly cut out for it.
Thank
Certainly
you.
looks like it. So the book is called Freeze Frame by Tyler Beauchamp, and we'll put this on our website, granewsmedia.com. And by all means, we highly recommend it. Tyler, pleasure meeting you. Come back to see us.
It's been
All
a
right.
pleasure. Thank you.
Take care.
Get in touch with us at info@granewsmedia.com, or you can give us a call at 912-376-9295. Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Wrapping it up here for this Thursday and for the week.
Yes. What a crazy week it's been. I think that we will have a lot to talk about on Monday.
Yeah, no kidding. Speaking of, there is the story that from the NBC affiliate here, WSAV. They're on your side, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
They said that marijuana and THC edibles now are getting to be one of the most popular, and about a $4 billion business now, expected to keep growing, $6 billion business. The problem is kids are starting to get this stuff.
Yep.
And they think it's candy in many cases. It ain't. So that there's a worry right now that these kids are getting and I knew this was going to be a problem as soon as they started making this stuff legal. We made it legal here in Georgia simply for medication purposes only. It has to be prescribed, and for a while it was one of those dilemmas where it was actually you could get it, but it was illegal. It wasn't made here in Georgia, and you couldn't bring it into the state. One of those crazy laws where, okay, we made it legal for you to take it, you just couldn't get it. So that was SRE. We're thinking all the time.
Yes.
They've gotten most of that straightened out, and I'm one of these people that said, I don't know why we have liquid cocaine, we have regular cocaine, we have all sorts of things that are for medical purposes that are heavily regulated and for medical reasons only, and they're given in specific doses. And why we made marijuana this pariah for all these years, and we found out that it does have medicinal purposes for different things. It took us something like 80 years to get anesthetics. When they were first invented, the Lord sends you tribulations, you're supposed to tribulate. So it took us 8 years to actually, for the medical profession, to sell anesthetics to the medical profession, so you wouldn't hurt during certain procedures like surgery. So this is another one of those where I couldn't understand why marijuana was when we have all these other opioids and things of that nature that are prescribed and work extremely well when they are administered properly and under a doctor's supervision. Same thing with marijuana. But now we have all this that is out on the street, and I think the kids are. It's only going to get. This situation is going to get worse. It's not bad enough we've got all this fentanyl coming across. At least marijuana is not fatal on the first dose.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hear commercials all the time now for fentanyl strips. Make sure you're testing everything.
Yeah.
Kind of scary but it
is.
It's interesting that the market does solve for problems.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a fentanyl problem, so they've made strips for you to safely test your drugs.
It just it is really, really sad that this administration is not protecting us, and it doesn't seem to be worried about the hundreds of thousands of people that are coming across our border and the hundreds of thousands of people that are dying because of the fentanyl that is coming across that we're doing very, very little about. But we'll solve this problem coming up next week.
Yes, thanks for tuning in. Remember to check us out on Facebook, Vimeo, YouTube, granewsmedia.com, and we will see you guys next week.
And remember, we don't need more electric cars, any more electric chairs.